Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Cyber Jitsu Day, Cyber Jitsu 4.0, and the 10th Annual Cyber Jitsu Awards this evening. For those that don't know me, I am Mari Galloway, and I'm really excited to see all of you here. The team has been working really hard for the last few months putting this together, and we've got a great list of speakers. We've got villages in the Arbors room. We've got workshops, so please go hang out, get your head shot, play backdoors and breaches, do the CTFs, and network and make new friends. So I'm gonna move out of the way so that my friend Toni Benson from CISA can come up here and get us started.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I like it. That was a pretty good. We're gonna try it one more time. Good morning, everyone. Did you guys see me? I was about to walk up like, oh, there's no steps here. You know what? That's that good track leg when I used to do hurdles. Yeah. So I'll wait for the slides to come up. But just to forewarn you, I will not be talking about CISA today. Anybody can find me afterwards if they would like to talk about CISA or there's things you would like to know about CISA, but that is not going to be what I'm talking about today. So, all right, I'll just keep talking. So, and I'm fine with that. So, there's really three areas that I really want to talk about this morning. I completely changed my speech last week and my team was not thrilled, but I asked them to just bear with me because I was inspired by something, but I'll tell you about that a little later. But there's just three areas I really want to talk about today. One of the areas is really the power within. It's something that really resonates with me and something I heard a couple of weeks ago. And then more than enough. And then, is this your pot? Now look, depending on what generation you're from, is this your pot may mean very different things. I'm not talking about the pot that we're trying to figure out whether or not it should be legalized federally. I'm just saying, I'm talking about something very different. So you'll hear about that in a second. We can move to the next slide. So, great. So here, I put a word cloud up, right? Because I feel like a lot of times people describe themselves and it may not be how people feel about them. And so what I did is I put some words up, but I also had my team and some friends put some words up. Now, I'm a little concerned that no one had anything negative to say. I feel like they're not telling the full truth or they're not giving me the whole story. But there are a couple of, they're just words up here that I think are kind really sort of describe who I am or parts of me, right? I think we're all made up of many, many different things and many, many different parts. And so I wanted to put up a word cloud. I wanted to do something a little different. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So I am going to go ahead and do the traditional, but I just want to point out a couple of things in my life or a couple of milestones that I think are very important that really help me kind of shape who I am as a person. So I am a very proud HBCU graduate, historically Black college and university. I went to Delaware State University, super proud of that. I can tell you that I didn't always live in that space about it because I didn't fully understand it. But when I actually got an opportunity to go, it really helped me and really poured into me who I was as a person. The next thing that I'm just going to point out, and I'm not going to talk about all of these, is the Air Force. The Air Force was great. It had many ups, it had many downs, but I take everything as a blessing and an opportunity, right, to learn from. And so it helped shape me, and it definitely helped shape my leadership skills and my ability to lead. So, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about, and as I said, I'm not going to really talk about CISA at all, but the last thing that I'm going to talk about is I did get an opportunity to go to Harvard last year. It was a great opportunity. Harvard itself is a very interesting place. If you've never been, you should go. There's a lot of things that makes it interesting, but I'll leave it at that. I will tell you the one thing that there was two things I took away from it. First, I don't know that I've ever been starstruck before, but I got to see Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And let me tell you what happened. No, don't clap yet, because let me tell you what happened when I saw her. I saw her and all I got out, and I was literally just walking one day, and she was there for like a class reunion or something like that. And this is all I got out was, hi. I I was like, this was my moment. This was my moment to take a picture. And she just kind of like chuckled. And this is before she got confirmed, maybe like a month before she got confirmed. But all I know is, you guys, I missed my moment. They say if you did not take a photo, it did not happen. So I'm telling you, I promise you, I'm not making the story up. I met her. She said hi back. And that's all I got. I tried. And then the other part, I think Harvard did for me is that it helped me kind of refocus on what I wanted to do in life. It also refocused me in a lot of areas. So not just career, but in my personal life. And it gave me the time and the space to be able to do that. And I'll talk a little bit more about how important those types of things are. So one of the things, like I said, I want to talk about today is the power within. And so I would like for a little crowd participation as we do this one. One of the things that I firmly believe in, and if it's not something that you do currently in your life, I implore you to start to incorporate this as daily affirmations. It's something about looking in a mirror or saying out loud and just confirming things about yourself. Even if they're not how you feel, it's something that brings a different energy to your day. And so I would like a little crowd participation. We're going to read this together. We're going to read it at a slow cadence. And where there's a line at the end, I want you to say what you're trying to conquer. So everybody's is going to be, well, maybe it's not going to be different, but we're going to all do it together because we are in a team sport. So, all right, you guys ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I am enough. I have everything I need to conquer this speech. Awesome. I like it. Give yourself a round of applause, please. Yes, let's clap it up for ourselves. This is something that I try to do. I try to do it every day. Now I slack off a little bit, but I do try to do this because sometimes you just wake up and it's just not your day. It's gloomy outside, or you had a bad day the day before and you're trying to carry it into the new day. It's a great opportunity for you to just kind of reset yourself, refocus yourself, and also just to know that you are enough. And I think sometimes we don't resonate and we don't live in the power that's within us. We have the power within us to do whatever we need to do. We have the power within us to conquer whatever we need to conquer. And we also have the power within us that we don't necessarily need someone else to help us get there in that sense, right? So you come into a room when you wake up each and every day and you have the opportunity to wake up and conquer another day, you are more than enough when you woke up that day. So I'm going to move on to the next one because it flows right into my next topic, which is more than enough. So Dr. Kimberly Young McClear, Commander retired. This is my friend. I just went to her retirement on Friday. I don't know if anybody knows who she is. If you do, you do? Yes. You were there? Hey, wait a minute. I feel like we should have, I do remember you. So you got the hat on, it threw me off. I absolutely love Kim, and she is the reason I was inspired Friday, and she is the reason why I completely changed my speech. She does not know that I'm using her, so let me tell her first. She's on a cruise, so I didn't want to bother her. But Kim is someone who I had the pleasure of meeting. Technically, I was her supervisor, but she definitely taught me more than I taught her. And I think that's a part of leadership that people don't often realize, that you can learn more from your people than you can pour into them. So just that little nugget there. But Kim is such an amazing person. And before I forget, if you follow me on LinkedIn, or if you go to follow her, she's actually about to publish a book called Flourish, and it will talk about all of her story. So I'm not going to go into her story, and it's well documented if you would like to see. But Kim is a whistleblower. Kim is also she's a whistleblower. She's a survivor of sexual harassment, sexual assault. But more importantly, Kim is a leader and a humble leader. She's a quiet person until she starts to get in her activist mode. And then she becomes a whole different person. And I love it. She's really a great individual. And for as much as I want you to follow me on LinkedIn, I think you should go follow her as well. But the reason why I'm talking about Kim today is because Kim operates in the spirit of more than enough. And I think sometimes we have to think about being a voice for the voiceless. And sometimes we have to be the person who stands up and at least tells their story, because you would be surprised how many people have the same story. And in this first picture where she has her hand up, she's testifying in front of Congress about the mistreatment that she had received and others had received in the Coast Guard. That is not an easy thing to do. I was in the military, and trust me, I had some mistreatment that I never talked about and still hesitate to talk about to this day. And I'm far removed and never plan on going back. And so it just takes a courage sometimes to stand up for what you believe in. And I love the picture of her at her retirement, because it just shows kind of that completion of that chapter of her life. And she's going on to do bigger and better things. But like I said, the reason why I am highlighting her is because she went from someone who had to be the voice for the voiceless and stand up for those who otherwise may not have had a space to be able to really live as their true selves and give that space. But she also defied the odds and was able to actually retire. And I don't know that everybody is able to live in that space and able to do those things. And really what I want the takeaway to be from that story is that sometimes it's not the easy road. It's not the road that's traveled the most. Sometimes it's the road that's less traveled. And so being willing to do that, being willing to stand up or be a supporter or an ally of those people who are doing those things is really, really important in this space. So I just wanted to highlight Kim, and I wanted to say that she is a pretty amazing person. And if ever the opportunity to meet her or the opportunity to support people like Kim that are standing up for the rights of people who otherwise wouldn't have someone stand up for them, please do so. So is this your pot? See, I told you I was not talking about what you thought I was going to talk about. So really here, once we get to the point when we realize we are more than enough to be in spaces, more than enough to get the job done. And sometimes I feel like, especially for women, that is not a space that we always live in. We feel like we have to have all of the qualifications before we walk in the door. That is not true. I work with a lot of people over the years who definitely do not have the qualifications when they walk in the door, but they learn them, right? And they're given grace and opportunity to be able to do so. And so I want us to really think about this in terms of a plant, right? So I don't know much about plants. I have killed a cactus before. It's a thing. My mother's embarrassed because she's really, really good with plants. But sometimes if you know anything about plants, in the pot itself, the roots are in the part of the pot that you can't see, right? And if the roots continue to grow, if you nourish it, but what happens is that if you don't repot that plant into a bigger pot, the roots just kind of get all entangled and then they start to die, right? And you don't actually know what's going on with the plant. Your leaves are turning brown and all of these things, right? But inside of the plant, inside of the pot, it's just chaos. It's like, I can't breathe, I can't stretch, I can't grow. And so sometimes we have to think about that in terms of our own life, right? And this is just not your career. This could be your personal life. It can be in all aspects of creating boundaries with family and friends. It could be all of the things, right? We have to look at that pot and assess, do we need to replant ourselves in another pot? And I think sometimes we live in a space because it's so comfortable that we don't pick ourselves up and replant ourselves into a pot so that we can grow and stretch. And the minute we do that, doors start to open, opportunities start to arise. And I think that we really have to continue to assess ourselves and assess our lives on whatever kind of cadence and basis you want to do that. But a lot of times as people, especially as women, we just say, oh, well, what I have is good. I need to be thankful for what I have. And I need to be thankful for the space. Be thankful and still assess. You can do both. Two things can exist at the same time. And so getting into those new pots sometimes allow us to, like I said, expand our roots, allow us to grow, and don't be afraid to get into that new pot. Don't be afraid to go for that new job. Don't be afraid to go for that promotion. Don't be afraid to cut some people off. Don't be afraid to speak up in the conference room, just all of the things, right? So just think about that in terms of, I thought it was a good example of sometimes you outgrow the pot that you're in and you just really need to move on to something different. And so I wanted to leave again, kind of those three points with you. I'm now going to talk about how I'm now going to talk a little bit about how in cybersecurity, how all of those things apply. I feel like if we don't realize that we have a power within us, that we're more than enough, and that if we don't find the pot that really fits us, or we don't reassess what pot we should be in, we're not going to be able to tackle this, right? I think it first starts with ourselves before we can start to empower other people to be able to tackle some of this. So I know these numbers fluctuate and there's all different types of numbers out there, but really looking at the fact that, only 24% of women make up the cybersecurity workforce, that's a fail. And then if we look at with what my director said, what Director Easterly said about really trying to get that number to 50%. And on the next slide here, I go right into kind of what she said, and I'll read this verbatim, but because I think it's important. But without women pursuing careers in cybersecurity, the industry is missing out on a huge portion of the population's talent pool. That's so true. I mean, women make all things better. That's just all there is to it. And then our allies to support that. So all of the gentlemen in the room, or all of the people in the room that can help be allies, it's super important, right? And so I think that we have to remember that it's not just the women that need to make the steps. It's not just, it's any and everybody that are in the spaces that can create that for us, right? And so I'm gonna move on to my last slide here. So Serena will probably be a part of every single presentation I do, because she is absolutely the GOAT. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to state that fact for you all. She is absolutely the greatest of all time. She is, she's not the best woman athlete. She is the best athlete. I'm, again, not here to debate that. I'm just here to point out fact for you guys. But I want to read a quote that she said as well, verbatim. So she said, the success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up, make sure you're very courageous, be strong, be extremely kind, and above all, be humble. And so I highlighted a couple of words because I think that we can live in these words in many different ways, and we can show up in many different ways in these words. But just as much as we can be courageous, sometimes we just have to be quiet for a minute and listen. My mom always says you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So sometimes it's good for you to listen and take in what is being said, but also have an opportunity to also hear what is being said, right? So speak up, but also hear what's being said. We can be strong, but it's okay to have moments of weakness. And so, well, weakness is probably not the word I want to use, but it's okay if it's not going the way we want it to go. So we can go both ways, right? I think it's just good for everyone to know that leave space and grace for you to kind of do both. Be extremely kind. Don't be anything but extremely kind. I don't want the antithesis of that. I want you to be extremely kind at all times. It costs you nothing to be kind to people. And then be humble. I think that we can live in this space. I think sometimes people mistake being humble, though, as being meek and not boasting on who you are as a person, or not highlighting the things that you have done. There's nothing wrong with highlighting the things you've done. There's nothing wrong with standing up and saying, I have accomplished these things. Be proud of those things, but make sure your character also matches that. So that is all that I had today. I really just wanted to leave the 3 things that I started off with. Like I said, the power that lives within you. Just remember that you're always more than enough, and not the pot that you think, but make sure that you're in the right pot. And when it's time to reassess, make sure you move to a different pot. So before I officially close, let me say thank you to Mari, Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu, everybody that participates in helping propel women, whether it be women themselves, allies, non-binary, whatever you identify as. Thank you for your support in this organization, and thank you for your support and just making us stronger, because the more inclusive we are as a world and also as a cybersecurity community, the better off we'll be. I thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.